The serve is fundamentally an in to out to in motion. And a lot of where it goes wrong for people is internalize it as an up to down to up motion.
Now, you're probably familiar with this ball and a sock serving drill, but you might be doing it wrong. You might be doing it down to up. This ball and sock should never go behind your back. You should be swinging it in to out, horizontally above your head like a lasso. This is what stretches your pecs and your shoulder in the way that they need to stretch for velocity on the serve. Now, I'm going to show you the release. I'm going to slow-mo this for you. And I want you to notice that you can see the shoulder and the forearm snap off the exact way we're going for on the serve when they're loaded by this in to out motion.
So to hit a great serve, you need your arm to do two things. One is pronate. Now, most people have heard of pronation. Most people are aware that the forearm rolls this way through the serve. And we all know, servers like Racket are famous for having the strings facing away when they finish the serve because the forearm rolled into pronation. The other one, which many people are missing, is shoulder rotation. So if I go here and I just roll the forearm, that's where you get this kind of reaching up, arm stationary serve here. And what unlocks the full serve is this stretching and rolling as well. So the shoulder rolling back and then the shoulder rolling forward as well. And that's going to let you get a stretch through your pecs. So it's going to let you load this energy through your pecs and your shoulder into the pronation that ultimately slaps the ball down into the box. So that lasso drill, the reason that lasso drill is so critical is this stretch on the pecs and external internal whip of the shoulder doesn't work in the down to up plane. It works in the in to out plane. And the reason that lasso is so good is, a lot of times as a coach, it's tricky. I'm like, well, you just got to throw it. So what does that really mean? Well, what that means is feel how to keep this momentum going. So feel it through your pecs, feel it through your scapula, feel it through your shoulder. Every time you keep the lasso going, you are doing the beginning of a serve. And so that lasso drill is going to help you feel that shoulder action on the serve. But it's not the only thing you need, because you'll notice in that lasso drill, my racket was coming around this way. And in the serve, it comes around the opposite way. And so this is why we have to combine pronation with shoulder rotation. And that gets us the full motion where all of the energy ends up here. So we're going to go over through simplifications to help you get there. Okay, the first when it comes to pronation is just make sure you know what it is. Take your racket in continental grip and just rotate your forearm. And make sure you actually can feel, yeah, okay, my racket hits the ball down when my forearm rotates. And you can just do a couple pure pronations just to make sure you understand, yes, when my forearm rotates in the continental grip, my racket hits the ball. Okay, once you've got that, this is what I want you to do. I want you to toss the ball above your head, and you're just going to pronate like this. This is the exact same thing I was doing here where my forearm rolls, but now it's just above my head. So toss the ball above my head, and I'm just going to pronate. My shoulder is barely rolling here. So we are building into a full serve, first just trying to trust how that hand is going to finish the serve. And when I say the hand, I don't really mean the hand and the wrist. I mostly mean the entire forearm hand racket complex. It's going to finish the serve like this. Now, the reason you have to toss these above your head is if you toss them out here, you're probably going to be tempted to push it more like a forehand volley. And I want you to have to rotate your hand and your forearm like this. So this entire racket forearm hand complex, this is pronation in the relevant plane as the serve. So here and boom. Okay, another reason we're doing this is one of the cheat codes for making sure you get good pronation on your serve is to imagine approaching the ball from the inside. So if you imagine the low to high serve, the problem with that is you imagine approaching the ball from the top, and then it leads you into more of this action. Whereas if we start with this progression, and then you always, even in your full serve, you imagine approaching the ball from the side here, that's naturally going to make you want to strike it with pronation like this, rather than with something like this, which is going to be far less effective, and your forearm isn't going to store and release nearly as much elastic energy. So here's what that looks like. See how I'm coming around the outside here? And we're getting that pushy action. But if I start my racket from the inside and flick out, that's where we get the actual slapping action with the stretch from the forearm.
Now, I take people through these progressions all the time. If you're interested in working with us in person, check the pinned comment. For now, let's get back into talking about the serve. Fair warning, the audio in the next clip is like this Family Guy joke.
We now return to Pirates of the Caribbean, where the sound guy put the microphone too close to Johnny Depp's jangling bracelets.
Hold it right there, Sparrow.
This is the day you will always remember as the day you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow.
I want to point out that if you take this ball, toss it above your head, pronate through it, and just hit it super hard to the back fence, that is an amazing serve progression. Because a lot of times, remember how I showed you that when I toss it over here and I approach the ball like this, it goes down more? A lot of the times your intuition can get confused. And if you hit a serve like this, and then you want it to go in, you'll go like this and try to pull it down like this. Your intuition will go, oh, that hit it out, I can't do that. We really don't want that to happen. And so before you even think about hitting your serve down into the box, get comfortable just pronating it from above your head, to the baseline, past the baseline, because that's the action we need to lock in. And we're gonna hit it down using some creative, adjustments of our trunk and such. We're not gonna hit it down by not pronating. Now, fundamentally, in order to hit it down, you just throw it a little more in front of you. And now that same pronation ends up hitting it down. The other extreme of hitting it to the back fence is, can I hit it to my own service line? But I'm not hitting it to my own service line by yanking my entire arm down. I'm just using the same motion. But now, because the ball is here, I'm hitting it like this, whereas when the ball is here, I'm hitting it like this. And so very often, when you hit a fast serve that goes out, oops, that was in. A fast serve that goes out, if you just toss the ball slightly farther in front of you and take the same swing, it'll go in. So we're on court with Alexa. We're gonna go through each progression in order and show you how you can build your serve out of these. Starting with, do you understand pronation? So you're just gonna stand this way and just feel the stretch here and bop the ball into the ground. And when you're doing this with yourself, some players can kind of get stuck trying to use the whole arm. We are just trying to use the forearm. And one thing that I will sometimes do, if a student isn't feeling it, is just stretch the forearm back. This is the stretch that's going to happen at the top of your serve. And then watch how her racket just, see how it bounces like that? It bounces because that's what happens when muscles are stretched and release. Now, the trickiest part is probably the next progression, which is that same forearm stretch and release above your head horizontally like this. So before hitting the ball, just feel the same stretch. And we are just bopping the ball over the net using that forearm action. Now it's the same thing here where, put your hand up for me. It's the same thing here where this is the stretch we're trying to feel. So at the top of your serve, your forearm is going to get stretched like this. And watch what happens when I release. See how the forearm naturally wants to go back the other way? That's what's happening at the top of your serve. All right, just do a couple more here. This is probably the most important progression because this is a really weird feeling. You see how the tip of her racket, it always approaches the ball from the left side to the right side. So it is an in to out action. And if you can teach your brain to trust this in to out bopping action, most of the downstream and upstream parts of the serve are going to fall into place for you. So obviously we're not really throwing into this, we're just bopping it. One of the best tools for feeling how to activate your throwing chain is the in to out lasso. So what this lasso does, now you can just do this with your wrist, but we want you to try to work the entire shoulder, chest, scapular complex into that motion. Again, this is in to out. The way that this loads, the way your pecs load, the way your shoulder loads, it loads in to out. And every time she sends the lasso around here, that is the beginning of the serve. And you just connect it to this. And then that's basically your serve. And then obviously we can do stuff with the trunk to speed it up, and we have to move the toss around so it goes in. But, you know, basically you just do the beginning of the lasso into the forearm release, and you can serve that hard, no legs, no real trunk stretch. If you know, if you're hitting it long, so hit a couple like past the baseline. If you're hitting it long, you just toss the ball like a little bit farther in front of you and do the exact same thing. And if you hit it into the net, just adjust that. You know, while you're doing these progressions, don't lose the feelings. So let's say she does that, she shanks a couple, they're slow. You know, we can go back to this progression and just get the forearm back, or go back to the lasso and get the shoulder back. But yeah, once you're at this point, you know, in our other serve video, we went over how to like use your trunk and how to stretch your trunk, but this is pretty much the contact motion on the serve.